Hi, welcome to Kingdom Seeker Circle. This is the 17th video in the series going through Matthew. We have been in the Sermon on the Mount for some time. We've just brought up last video of how Jesus fulfills the law. He does not cancel or nullify it. He embodies it and fulfills it. And now we're stepping into new territory. We're talking about what the text says, why does the narrative of Matthew say it that way, and what stands out that gives weight to its context. We're still on the mountain, okay? We're still at this sermon of kingdom ethics. Now, Jesus has just said something staggering. Unless your righteousness surpasses that of the Pharisees and the teachers of the law, you will certainly not enter the kingdom of heaven. Now, those are shocking words. That line is still hanging in the air. And now he gives his first example of what that kind of righteousness actually looks like. This is where everything deepens. So what does the text say? Well, Jesus begins, "You have heard that it was said to the people long ago, 'You shall not murder, and anyone who murders will be subject to judgment.'" Now everyone listening would nod. Of course, yeah, that's one of the 10 Commandments. Clear, concrete. A life for a life. Don't take a life. And if you do, there is judgment, of course. But then Jesus says, "But I tell you." Ooh, they start to incline their ears. That phrase would have landed with authority. Not another rabbi says, not "there's a new interpretation in the scriptures." No, "but I tell you." And then he moves the line inward. Anyone who is angry with a brother or sister will be subject to judgment. Now the crowds shift, because murder is rare. Anger is so common. He continues, again, "Anyone who says to a brother or sister, 'Raka,' is answerable to the court, and anyone who says, 'You fool,' will be in danger of the fire of hell." Raka was an insult, something like empty head or worthless. It was contempt, it was dismissal, and it was dehumanizing. It was a degrading term, derogatory speech. Jesus is not just talking about physical violence, he's talking about the violence of the heart. Then he gives a vivid picture. "Therefore, if you are offering your gift at the altar and there remember that your brother or sister has something against you, leave your gift there in front of the altar. First go and be reconciled to them, then come and offer your gift." Imagine that. You've traveled to Jerusalem, you're standing at the temple, you have a sacrifice in hand, and suddenly you remember, "Oh, someone has something against me." And then Jesus says, "Stop, leave it. Go make it right first. Then present your gift to the Lord." Reconciliation takes priority over ritual. Then he gives another image. He says, "Settle matters quickly with your adversary who is taking you to court. Do it while you're still together on the way." Now he's painting a scene of two people walking towards judgment. And he says, "Or your adversary may hand you over to the judge, and the judge may hand you over to the officer, and you may be thrown into prison." And then the sobering final line, "Truly I tell you, you will not get out of it until you have paid the last penny." Now, the tone is urgent here. This relational conflict is not small. Anger is not harmless. Delay is dangerous. Why is Matthew including it here? Well, to reveal the true depth of the law. Jesus is not lowering the command, "Do not murder." He is revealing its root, where it comes from. Murder does not begin with a knife or a gun. It begins with contempt. It begins with anger that festers in the heart, with resentment that grows, with the decision that someone is less valuable than you are. And the Pharisees could say, "I have never killed anyone." But when Jesus says, "But what is happening in your heart?" And this is how righteousness surpasses theirs, not by more external control, but by inner transformation. And point 2 is that it exposes the danger of unchecked anger. Anger feels justified. It feels small. It feels private. It feels manageable. Jesus says it is not small. No. Notice the aggression. There's anger, there's then insult, and then there's condemnation. Now the heart spills into speech. Speech shapes reality. Contempt dehumanizes others. By the time violence erupts physically, it has already been alive internally in our heart. Jesus is warning us the kingdom of heaven cannot coexist with the heart that nurtures hatred. No, this is not about never feeling any emotion. It's about refusing to let anger become the identity. The third point is to elevate reconciliation above religious performance. The temple image is radical. Worship was central. Sacrifice was sacred. Yet Jesus says, if your relationships are fractured and you know that it's fractured, stop your worship and pursue reconciliation first. That doesn't mean worship doesn't matter, though. It means that the love of God cannot be separated from the love of your neighbor. Ritual without reconciliation is useless. The kingdom is relational. There's both a vertical and a horizontal relationship, one with God and one with your neighbor. The kingdom is like that. Unresolved conflicts, they contradict the very righteousness Jesus is describing here. So what stands out that gives weight to this context? But I tell you is the famous line that Jesus uses. This phrase carries a lot of weight. Jesus places his authority alongside and actually above traditional interpretations. He is not dismissing Moses. He is unveiling Moses' intention, the heart of it. The crowd is hearing something unprecedented, someone who speaks with direct authority over the law. This deepens what he said earlier about fulfilling it. He doesn't abolish it. He completes the law's meaning. The second point is the movement from public court to divine judgment. Notice the escalating language. Subject to judgment, answerable to the court, danger of the fire of hell. Jesus connects earthly legal consequences with an eternal reality. He is saying what happens in your heart matters before God. You can escape human courts if you're sly and tricky, but you cannot escape divine evaluation from God. This gives weight to what might otherwise feel like just emotion. This is more than just emotions. Point 3 is the urgency of on the way. The image of settling matters on the way is powerful. There is movement toward judgment. Time is limited. That urgency fits the larger Sermon on the Mount. The kingdom is here. Decision involves us now, and transformation cannot be postponed till later. Let's talk about what this means for us. It means Jesus is not satisfied with external innocence. You can have no criminal record and still have a violent heart inside. You can sing worship songs and still be nursing resentment for your neighbor. And Jesus says that matters, that this passage forces us inward to look inside and evaluate ourselves. Who have you dismissed in your heart? Who have you reduced to fool or worthless in your thoughts? Where is there unresolved tension you keep postponing? The righteousness that surpasses the Pharisees is not louder morality. It is deeper purity. It is heart reshaped by mercy. Because here's the quiet grace in this text. The one who teaches this will later absorb the anger of the whole world. He will be insulted, called a fool, condemned unjustly. Instead of returning contempt, he will forgive. He says, Father, forgive them, for they know not what they do. He fulfills this teaching not just by commanding it, but by embodying it. And in him, we find both conviction and hope. Conviction because anger is very serious. Hope because transformation is possible. The kingdom of heaven is not merely about avoiding murder. It is about becoming the kind of person in whom murder could never grow. And that begins not with suppressing behavior, but with surrendering your heart to God. With that being said, go in peace, God bless you, and have a great day.